G'day everybody, Max right here from Success Council, and this is going to be a jam-packed video. There is so much stuff in here. We got a lot of fear out here. I haven't done a video for a while, and I thought you guys needed a market update to see exactly where we are in the cycle. All the different things I predicted have been coming true, and the good news is there is still time. I know there's a lot of people out there who are probably scared. I want you to know there is still time. So if you're scared, this video is going to help you alleviate that fear. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think is going to happen, what I'm doing, and you can do everything that I'm doing as well. That's all going to be in this video right here. I'm also going to talk a little bit about psychology. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but I'll admit I got scared. As prepared as I am, and as much as I've been talking about this for years, when it all goes down, it gets scary. It does. I had a little bit of fear inside me. I noticed it. And then I had a thought, and then ever since then, I've slept like a baby. I'm going to share that thought with you here soon. Just reframe how you think and completely clear your head. Because if you're consumed by fear, you can't think rationally, you can't think sensibly, and you're not going to be able to behave and act and do the things that you need to do. I also want to let you know, I think here in a few days, certainly by the end of the week, I'm going to do a Q&A. Meaning any question you have, any question that comes up during this video, please, in the comments of this video, write down that question. In the next few days, I'm going to answer that question. Any question on any topic, write it in the comments of this video, and I will do another video here soon answering those questions. On that note, please go ahead, subscribe, hit the bell. I don't do many videos, but when I do them, trust me, you want to watch them because they are jam-packed with information that's going to completely help you, at least give you some clues on navigating this whole crisis. And we are in a crisis, believe me. Also in this video, we're going to go through where we've been, exactly what has happened thus far. Let's recap that in the terms and through the lens that I normally talk to you guys about, and where we're going. We're going to use some videos here to help understand that, and that's what we're going to do. I've got to keep checking my list here. It's such a jam-packed video. I've got to keep up to date. I'm going to do a total asset update. So all the different asset classes, all the things I talk about, Bitcoin, stock market, real estate, cash, different fiat currencies, precious metals. Going to talk about all of that, what's happened, what's about to happen, what I think is about to happen. And then we're going to talk about a little bit about what's going to happen in terms of the economy. It's not, I tell you, there's some big problems going on. And the solutions that the governments all over the world are offering, the cure is worse than the disease. And this is going to get really bad. So despite that, there's still things we can do. Focus number one, let's preserve as much wealth and health that you have as right now, and then I'll show you how to just massively catapult your wealth here in the next couple of years. Because this is the greatest opportunity the world has ever seen. So let's reframe that from fear into excitement. I don't want to say excitement because a lot of people are going to get hurt. And so I'm not reveling in their misery. I definitely don't want to do that. But I can't help them by being in the breadlines. You can't help them by being in the breadlines. Let's preserve your wealth. Let's catapult your wealth. Let's make sure you have the ability and resources to go and help others. And that's what this video is going to be all about, right? So let's talk about this concept of that there is still time. I hope you understand now that the coronavirus was, well, in 2019, I'm going to show you a video clip here of what I predicted from February of 2019. Obviously, I had no idea what the coronavirus was then, and it didn't exist. The coronavirus is the pin that pricked the financial bubble that absolutely had to get popped. And so it's not just a pin, it's a sledgehammer. And so we're just going to see an absolute slaughter of things, and we are nowhere near the end of this. But I can tell you right now, the Dow, I think we're March 27th, by the way. Right now, the Dow is at just below 22,000 from a top of 29,000. Well, we're talking about down 25, 30%. In 2 or 3 years' time, if you only lost 25, 30% of your wealth, I tell you now, you are going to be in the top 2 to 5% of people celebrating. You are going to be a king among men. You are going to look like a financial genius having only lost 25 to 30%. So when I say there is still time, there is absolutely still time. There is plenty more financial chaos to come, and if you do the things that I'm teaching you now, I believe you're going to come out of this very, very well. And remember, I've said this in many other videos, at the end, really all you need is psychology. If you have the psychology, you will just fixing everybody else is going to be so fearful they won't be able to act. The people with the right frame of mind, the right psychology, looking for opportunities are going to crush it. Some of the biggest wealth dynasties in history, the Kennedys, the Rockefellers, the whatever, some of these were created in the middle of the Great Depression. We've got that opportunity coming up, okay? So let's keep your head clear. Next, I want to talk about that idea that just popped into my mind. So the last couple of months I've been holidaying. I got back about 2 weeks ago. I've been in self-quarantine the whole time. I haven't got coronavirus, thank you for asking. But I was there in Australia at Bondi Beach, and I was just, I'm watching it all go down. I'm like, man, this is scary. As prepared as I am, this is scary stuff. And I noticed that fear creeping in, and then this thought popped into my head. I was like, listen, Max, if you have done 1/10 of the things that I have done and have taught other people to do, you're in the top 0.0001%. Humanity will go on. People will survive. Civilization is not ending. Things will go on. And if you're in the top 1%, 2%, 5%, 10%, you are going to be just fine. Now, I'm not here to celebrate and revel in other people's misery, but it's very important that our psychology is strong. And one of the thoughts, it sounds a little bit dark, but one of the thoughts that helped my psychology get so strong is the reality is the worse this gets, the better it is for me. Again, I would happily give up this opportunity and not see everybody else hurt. Happily give that. I don't need anything extra. I'm very comfortable in life. I don't need what's about to happen. But for my psychology's sake, it was very important and a liberating thought to have. The worse it gets, the better it is for me because of how we are positioned. And if you're not positioned that way, if you haven't taken my advice over the last few years, there's still time I'm going to teach you how to position yourself, okay? Because there's going to be carnage and people are going to get hurt, and we're here to try and save as many people as we can and empower people to save themselves with as many people as we can. So I hope that kind of helps with the psychology. Just try and keep that positivity and try and keep that sound mentality that you're going to be fine and things are going to be okay. We'll just get through this together. I should point out, so this was going to be a members only video. For those of you who don't know, I have thousands of paid subscribers who have become members of Success Council over the years. And it was actually my ex-wife. She was like, Max, people need you. Just get the word out. Your paid subscribers have made an absolute fortune from you the last months and years. They're going to be perfectly okay. They see what's happening. Just help people and just put it out there. So this and several videos in the future, this is just open to the public with the very highest value content I can possibly give you. If you have questions, ask them. I'm here to try and help as many people as possible. I'm holding nothing back. So just so as you should know that. So let's go into a little bit about let's again look at what's happened through the lens that I've been talking about over the years, and let's see that. So to do that, I'm going to show you a video here. This is a video I recorded in February. It's a webinar I did with Jeff Berwick and myself, and so this is you'll see it here. In fact, let me throw it on the screen right now. Here it is. This is 50 minutes into a 90-minute presentation, and it's just kind of the wrap-up I do at the end to kind of go through everything and help people understand. As an interesting frame I held myself on. You can see this is unlisted here, and actually I didn't upload it until June. So this was a live webinar that I did in in February 2019, and then I had it on my servers, and you could watch the webinar live later on. But and then eventually I had some tech problems and I just said screw it and I threw it up on YouTube as unlisted. So you haven't been able to search for this. When I finish this video, I might make this unlisted so it does come up in searches and you can hatch it. I'll put it in the description because I highly recommend this entire 90-minute video is going to perfectly describe exactly what's about to happen and the opportunity for you and how to preserve your wealth, okay? But this is just a little bit of a wrap up. This goes for a couple of minutes and it's describing the vast majority of what has just happened and a few things that are about to happen. So let's go ahead and watch this right now. And just after this, we'll come back and review all the things and see how my predictions played out, okay? Okay, let's take a little look now. Let's kind of tie this all up and think about, let's have a good understanding of when exactly these crashes are going to happen and what asset classes we want to be in. Okay, and quickly, here's our graph. We're somewhere here. The most important thing is to be safe here. We just want to arrive here with the right psychology, number one, so that we're not hurting. Number two, it would be nice to have a little bit of money behind us and have a few resources, okay? So how do we protect ourselves here? What do we need to be in right now to protect ourselves? Okay, there's three major classes we should be in right now, in my opinion. Bitcoin. Not only are we going to do a good job of protecting ourselves, I think it's going to go up 20 to 40x, okay, in the next 2 years. An amazing opportunity, but that's a great safe haven. Two, the next place, cash. Primarily US dollars. Now, for a lot of you guys, you might be thinking, whoa, US dollars, central banks overprinting. We could see a complete crash of the US dollar. You're right, we could, but when? Cycle goes like this, crash, da-da-da. How many times have I drawn that today? A lot. So we're up here in the crash, the things crash, da-da-da-da-da. What do they start doing? They start printing money, and yes, eventually they do a lot of printing and people lose faith in the currency. But we plan to get out here. Now, think of Venezuela, think of any of the hyperinflations you've ever read where currencies actually collapse. It's taken years for the Venezuelan peso to hit 50,000% inflation like it has now. It always takes years, and there's so much warning. As they start printing down here, we start looking for deals and getting out of it. The stock market and real estate markets crash so much faster than dollars do. It's a good place to be, but we're going to get out of it soon because it absolutely runs the risk of dying. The US dollar could die, but it will take some years to unwind as they start overprinting and people lose faith in it. So cash is a good spot to be right here to miss out on this big drop. Okay, and number three, precious metals. All good places to be, a traditional safe haven and a very, very good one to be in. Where do you not want to be during this crash? We'll put them over here. Stock market, do not be in the stock market unless you're betting for it to go down. I don't really recommend it. So much counterparty risk, too much headache. I wouldn't do it. But definitely don't be in the stock market to go up. Also, real estate. Real estate's going to get smashed hard. You do not want to be in it at all. So these are the places that are safe havens to ride out the crash. These are the asset classes you do not want to be in. But at the bottom, what do? We jump into here, either high dividend paying stock or high yielding real estate, and that we buy our financial freedom income. We have it indexed to inflation for the rest of our lives. Perfect. Okay, let's go a little bit deeper. I suspect you guys probably knew most of that. Let's analyze what they did in 2008 so that we can better understand what they might do during the next crash. What's the first thing they do during the crash? Well, they lower interest rates. Okay? Hey, they lower interest rates. Now, traditionally, what they do is they lower interest rates about 3.5% to trigger the recovery. That's their goal. But right now, interest rates are still below 3%, the cash rate of the Fed I'm talking about. So they would have to go negative. They've invented this magical thing, negative interest rates, and they can do it, but it's completely broken. We know that, but they might try and do it. They might try and do it lower it all the way through till negative. The next thing we know they're going to do, they did in 2008, bailout. That just means printing money, adding it to the national debt, therefore it'll be on our children's backs, and then they give all that money to their favored people, and their friends and big corporations who they think are important enough, they tell us, but really it's just their friends and cohorts. They go ahead and get a bailout, and now all of a sudden they're fine and healthy and good and dandy. In doing so, they have to print enormous amounts of money and put it on the national debt. They know they can't do that to the degree they need to do that. So they have come up with a third system, one they tested in Cyprus in 2013, called the bail-in. If you're not familiar with what happened in Cyprus in 2013, one day you go to sleep on a Friday, there's no cause for alarm, there's no reason for anything to be uncomfortable, and you wake up the next morning and Cyprus says the two biggest banks in the country are insolvent. That's pretty inconvenient. Both CFOs working on Saturday and figuring that out on the same day, huh? Yeah, the two biggest banks decided they were insolvent on a Saturday morning, and the banks don't open for 3 more weeks. You've got no access to your savings whatsoever. The economy grinds to a halt. The bureaucrats from Brussels come out and meet with the leaders of Cyprus. They hash out a deal and they decide what they're going to do. Every dollar that all the depositors have at that bank, it all gets chopped in half. If you had $1 million in the bank, 3 weeks later, you only had $500,000 in the bank. It was gone. If you just had your account chopped in half, how much faith do you have in that bank? What's the first thing you want to do? Get your money out of the bank. They're obviously not silly. They know that. Second part of the deal. Your account got chopped in half. The half that we allowed you to keep, you're not allowed to use it. With a withdrawal limit of 150 euros a day, that's how much money you can take out of the banking system. So you had $1 million, it got chopped in half to 500,000, and you're only allowed to access it at a rate of 150 euros a day. That was the bail-in. If you've read the G20 summary papers, if you've read the G8 summary papers, you know they liked that model. They've already implemented the laws to put that in place. So they are going to do that. We know they're going to do that, which is big, because what that means is particular favored institutions will be saved with bailouts and unfavored institutions will get chopped in half through bail-ins. So what does that mean? See, it would have been nice and easy if we're in these 3 asset classes. My fear is, my problem is that, and my sadness is that even the people who know what asset classes to be in, if they're not in them the right way, are going to get crushed. They'll get crushed because you're sitting in cash. Yeah, but your bank account got chopped in half. Well, you may as well left it in the stock market and watched it get smashed by 50%. So that was no safe haven. Same with Bitcoin. You think it's as simple as just calling up Kraken or Coinbase and just getting yourself some Bitcoin? Absolutely not. The vast majority of people, the way they're holding their Bitcoin, they're going to get chopped in half or worse. It's going to get really, really dangerous and dicey. And precious metals, the same thing. You call up your broker and say, yeah, put me in gold, put me in silver, you're going to get crushed. Now, I wish I can talk for hours upon hours on each of these asset classes and how to preserve your wealth safely. Because the number one goal that you have is to just not get hurt over the next few years. If you can just not get hurt, you will be there to ride that next wave and crush it and take advantage of those bargains when they come online at the bottom of that next crash, at the inflection point. Okay, so lots and lots of predictions made in that video from February 2019. Let's just go through the main ones here. Bitcoin, in February 2019, it was at $4,200. Now it's at $6,700. It's up 60%. By the way, Bitcoin is bouncing around like a yo-yo. Longer term predictions, I had in May of 2019 that Bitcoin would be at 15,000, and by 2021 it would be in the 6 digits, over $100,000 per Bitcoin. That short-term one, it just we're a few months away from May. It could be Bitcoin could go down to $1,000 for all I know. Maybe it goes up to $20,000 in 2 months. It is all over the place, and it's going to be very hard to predict short-term. But anyway, from the longer-term prediction back there, we're up 60%. It was the best performer. Cash, when measuring US dollars in US dollars, of course, it's just 1-to-1. But US dollars compared to all other fiat currencies, to my knowledge, maybe there's a few outliers, but it's certainly one of the best performers in the world right now in terms of fiat currency. Exactly as predicted, it was perceived and is perceived still today, as of March 27th, as a safe haven. And so it's very, very strong right now. That will absolutely certainly change, and I'll talk more about that later in this video. But yeah, for right now, the last year, US dollars was a fantastic place to be. Gold went from 1463 up to 1623 right now, and that you'd be up 11% if you're into gold. And the Dow at the time, February 2016, it was around 26,000. Right now, we're in a little bit of a resurgence here. It's at 22,000, up from a low of 18,000. You would have lost 15% of your wealth leaving it in the Dow. Real estate, it's a slow mover. We're not going to have data on that for a little bit, but I can tell you right now, if it's not getting smashed right now, and I don't think it's too bad right now, actually. I had in February of 2019, I had 8 houses that I owned. I Airbnb'd them all. I've divested of all bar 3 of those, and 1 more is going to close. So I'm going to be down to 2 houses here. And from what I hear from the agent, the showings are quite strong, and real estate is still reasonably okay. But that's not what's going to happen long term, I don't think. So yeah, my predictions from February 2019 have turned out to be pretty good. I'm not here to do a victory lap, just to assess. It's like, okay, is the models that I was working on and sort of put forth and made the arguments for, did they hold? And it turns out they held pretty true. Or it's not pretty true, I'd say one of the more accurate forecasters out there. I don't know too many people who are forecasting with that kind of accuracy and specificity. Let's talk about the bail-ins. So there's one part of my prediction which has not yet come to pass. I still believe it is going to. So this is where, again, this is going to tie into this cash, US dollars. The US banking sector is one of the strongest banking sectors in the first world. Europe is an absolute mess. I am almost certain we're going to see some bail-ins in Europe. Whether or not we'll see them in the US, I don't know. But here's my prediction. At the time that that happens, if you see a bail-in happen in Germany, France, England, Spain, Italy, some significant first world country, you are going to see the price of Bitcoin and gold go parabolic. They're going to go mental. When the market finally gets on, clues into the fact that the US dollar and all fiat currencies are in big trouble, then what's going to happen at some point in the next year or two, money is going to flow. I said that these are the three asset classes that you want to be in, right? There's very quickly coming a time when you don't want to be anywhere near it. You don't want to be in any fiat, let alone the US dollar. And with the stock market getting smashed, I believe the real estate market's getting smashed. If you can't hide in cash, where are you going to hide? There's only two asset classes left to go, Bitcoin and gold. And the prices of these two things are going to go parabolic. That's my prediction there. So there's still time to get out of US dollars and into those two asset classes. We'll talk a little bit more about that again later in the video. Let me talk a little bit now. I want to talk about percentages here and my confidence in these. In precious metals, I am 100% confident that precious metals are going to go crazy. It's just a fantastic place to have your wealth at the moment. The price of gold and silver are going to go north very fast. I personally, there's just an opinion, my personal opinion, 100% certainty. I've got 5,000 years of history to look on with precious metals, and I know what precious metals is going to do. I should stress, in relation to the other asset classes and US dollars. This is eventually, it might take a couple of years to play out, but this is what's happening. My confidence in Bitcoin is, I would say, 80%. I'm a huge Bitcoin believer, but you have to put your sensible hat on. Bitcoin is created in 2009. It's never even seen a recession. It's never seen a depression. It's never seen hard times. It was just an asset that was created in the middle of the biggest financial bubble in the history of the world. Now, I am a believer in Bitcoin. However, I do not have the certainty in Bitcoin that I have in precious metals. Okay? I think Bitcoin's going to go very, very well, but it's only an 80% certainty. My precious metals certainty is sky high. I want to address some of the major commentators out there. There's a lot of guys I follow, Harry Dent, Peter Schiff, Mike Maloney, a whole bunch of them, and they have different opinions, these guys. And I listen to all of them. They all make very, very good arguments. Harry Dent, on the topic that we're talking about now, whether or not the price of gold, silver, and Bitcoin is going up, Harry Dent is saying price of gold is going to get smashed. It's going to go way down. We have a very, very difficult situation to handle here. We have a free market desperately trying to deleverage and collapse the price, go into a deflationary spiral. This is as painful as it is, this is the required cure for all of the failings of the centrally planned governments around the world for the last several decades. It's an extremely painful process. The free market is desperately trying to do it so that it can heal and begin to grow very, very healthy again very, very quickly. If the governments would allow it to happen, we would be in a short-term misery and we would be growing out of it. Had they have let 2008 collapse, instead of doing $4 trillion worth of bail-ins here, we would have gone through several years of misery, and right now we would be growing like a rocket. They didn't. Same thing here. So we have this gigantic war between the free market and the central bankers who will refuse to let the necessary deflation happen. And so you've got every single government around the world is on board, willing to print trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. So what's going to happen? Is Harry Dent's prediction that the price of gold is going to go into a deflationary spiral? The price of gold could go down to $500 an ounce. Could that happen? It could. I just can't see, and all evidence thus far would suggest there's no way in the world the banks are going to let that go down to $500. Not going to happen. They're going to just print as much money as needs to happen to just keep all these bubbles inflated, which means the price of everything could go high. But what does that mean? If the price of everything goes high, like if the Dow could go to 50,000 for all I know. Who cares if your hamburger costs $50,000? It doesn't matter, right? So there's this gigantic war going on between the printing presses of the central banks and the free market desperately trying to cure the disease that has riddled it over the last several decades with the continual growth of government and the destruction of the capitalist system. That's the war that we're watching. It's very hard to know what's going to happen with regards to dollars because it depends on how much the central bankers print. So I want you guys to completely reframe how you're thinking and start thinking in terms of asset classes. I want you to do this. From now on, just imagine if you liquidated everything you had, all assets, and then bought everything in a different asset class, like say gold, or Bitcoin, or real estate, or the Dow Jones, or dollars. Start measuring your wealth in terms of other things. So, if you sold everything and only bought gold, you might have 700 ounces of gold. If you sold everything and bought only Bitcoin, you might have 200 Bitcoin. If you sold everything you had and bought everything and bought something in real estate, you might have one median house. I'm making up all those numbers, of course. But start thinking of measuring your wealth in not dollars, because dollars, the way they're printing them, it's very, very likely that we could see complete destruction of the fiat currency system. And you will get deceived and you will not notice that you are being robbed, that you are being stolen, that wealth is flowing elsewhere. It feels like you're getting richer because the Dow goes up, because gold goes up. You're not getting richer if everything else is, if the price of a hamburger is going up 10 times faster than your price of your assets. So start measuring your wealth in different asset classes. Is going to be a critically important skill for you to have. If you don't have that, you're going to miss the big moves, because that is what we're doing. Remember, the wealth is the stuff. It's the houses, it's the farms, it's the machinery, it's the precious metals, it's the businesses that produce cash flow. That is the wealth. They were there before, they're going to be there afterwards. The goal is to have as much of that stuff as possible. The pieces of paper they're printing up, don't measure your wealth in terms of that. You can get slaughtered and you won't even know it happened to you. If we go into a serious inflation or hyperinflation, you will be absolutely impoverished and you won't know. You'll be the world's poorest billionaire, as many of the signs in Zimbabwe said just a few years ago. So with that in mind, here are some predictions. At some point in the next few years, and it could be much sooner than that, but I believe that the Dow, as in right now it's 22,000, the Dow Jones Index, and the price of gold are going to meet. Right now the Dow's at 22,000, gold's at 1,600. Now that, if they print a boatload of money, maybe they meet at 50,000. If they don't print a boatload of money, maybe they meet at 1,000 and the Dow just collapses. I don't know, but my prediction is gold and the Dow meet. What happens is, that's beyond fair market. Right now I think gold is massively undervalued. During the inflation of this massive bubble, all the money, the vast majority of the money went into the stock market. The Dow Jones is sky high. When that deleverages and collapses, which it needs to, it's going to come way down. At some point, these are going to meet. So the stock market is overvalued still today. The gold is undervalued massively still today. And at some point, they meet. The dollar price that happens, I can't confirm. Depends on how much money they print. And when these things happen, gold will, it's kind of like a slingshot. The price of gold will come back with such momentum in relation to the Dow that it will actually go past fair value and we're to the point where Dow, buying stocks, is a bargain compared to gold. At that point, you want to sell your gold, get into the Dow, because it's slingshot that much further. Another prediction, gold, silver. Right now, the gold-silver ratio is at 120. 120 pieces of silver, ounces of silver will buy you an ounce of gold. That is way out of whack. The reason for it is, right now, gold is perceived as a monetary metal. Not perceived, it is a monetary metal. Silver, not so much, although it is. It's an industrial metal. As the economy is collapsing, people don't need, the silver buyers don't need silver for their industry. However, silver, and my prediction is that silver will be remembered as a monetary metal. Because of the currency crisis that I predict is going to happen, and I'm going to talk about that more in a second, because of the currency crisis that's going to happen, silver will be remembered as a monetary metal. Maybe the gold-silver ratio goes up to 150, I don't know. But in the spirit of that slingshot effect that I was talking about, gold comes back and slingshots way past its fair value to where gold is way overvalued compared to other assets. I believe the same will happen with gold and silver. Silver is going to slingshot back to gold at some point in the next several years, and silver is going to go from a ratio of currently 120 silver ounces to 1 gold. It's going to come way down to below 10 or 20. So you're going to have these double slingshots affecting. So silver is just going to be a phenomenal investment, and gold's going to be a phenomenal investment too. But silver's going to outperform gold in the long term over these next few years, I believe. A little bit of catch up. I always get that question. You say precious metals, silver or gold or both? There's your answer for that. A little bit of an update on that market. Right now, across the board worldwide, it is very, very hard to get your hands on precious metals. If all of the major dealers moving serious amounts of money around, there's delays of 4 to 14 weeks in trying to get your hands on the physical bullion. By the way, you only care about the physical bullion. The paper price, the ETFs, the GLD, the SLV, completely irrelevant. Don't go near them. Very, very dangerous. A little bit of historical perspective here. It's long been theorized by me and many others that the paper markets are just destroying the price of silver. What's happening is, in those markets, you can just buy and sell contracts for gold and silver. You say, yeah, okay, you can buy gold off me next year for this price, and I can keep absorbing the demand of gold by selling you bits of paper promising to buy it for you. Okay, and it's absorbing all the demand for gold, hence the price of gold is not going up as it should. The problem is, right now, these contracts are usually settled in cash. That's right. I promised to sell you at $1,500 an ounce. The price is actually $1,600 an ounce. I'm going to give you the cash difference that I owe you, and you can go and buy gold or not go buy gold, whatever you want. Right. In this environment, at some point, I believe it's going to be exposed that some of the people are going to want, no, I want the physical gold. I want the physical silver. And the people with the contracts are not going to be able to do it. They've got to go into the market to buy it to honor their contracts. And when they go to buy the gold and silver, the actual physical gold and silver, if some strong hands say, I want delivery, not just the cash difference like I normally take, then those funds have to go and buy real gold and deliver as per their contract. When they do, the price of gold and silver has to skyrocket, because right now the physical metal is not, the price of it is not exploding. With that said, it actually is in the background. Here's what's happening. The price of physical, if you want to take physical delivery, you don't just pay the spot price, you pay the spot price plus a pretty hefty fee. So to actually take delivery, way more above normal, it's spiked. Right now on like eBay and other things, to buy the premiums to actually take physical are significant. What that means is the price between the paper precious metals and the physical precious metals has separated. This has happened before. We've been theorizing about this for a long time. It happened in 2009. I think it happened in 11 and 13 as well, 2011, 2013. 3 times. There was like a market shudder. People got scared. They rushed to get their hands on gold and silver. The price deviated. So I bought $60,000 worth of silver about 2 weeks ago. And the spot price for silver was $12 an ounce. I paid $1,700 an ounce in like undisclosed bars. If you wanted like American Eagles, you were paying $22 an ounce. The spot price is $12. You're paying nearly 100% premium to take physical delivery of the silver. And there was a 4-week wait to get them. Now it's up to a 14-week wait to get them, and the premiums are still up there at $20+ to get your hands on physical silver. So in those previous instances, 09, 11, and 13, I hope I'm not misremembering, I'm pretty sure there were 3 instances this happened, the price split. Had you have waited several months for all that demand and fear to subside, you could have, the premiums for physical came down, the mines and the fabricators and all the other parts of the industry that actually produce the physical bullion, they caught up, those premiums disappeared, and if you waited patiently, you could have bought the physical metals cheaper than had you have bought them in the middle of the crisis. However, it has been long theorized, and maybe this is the one, where eventually the price of paper and physical split and split permanently. And the price of physical goes to the moon, and the price of bits of paper promising to get you physical, they can't even deliver. You find out you're holding an IOU from a company who can't afford to buy gold at $10,000 an ounce to sell it to you at $2,000 an ounce, which is what they have promised to do to you with the contract. So is this the time where the price of physical and paper splits and splits permanently, and the house of cards that is the futures contract selling bits of paper soaking up gold demand evaporates? Maybe this is it, and that's the risk you have to run. If you want physical silver right now, physical gold right now, you are going to pay one hell of a premium. Now, I have called around to local bullion shops. Some of them are completely out. Some of them are very savvy and say, we're not out, but I'm not selling, I'm only buying. I don't believe the price of paper, I'm going to wait. Some people are doing that. I have found some bullion shops where you can go in and they sell in cash, $5,000 cash, $2,000 cash. You can pick up some gold eagles, some silver bars, some silver eagles, some of things like that. So there is still a chance. Call around, see if you can find a bullion dealer in your neighborhood where you can go and get physical precious metals, because at those locations, what I have found, the premiums are not that high. If you want to move serious amounts of money, like $10,000 plus, $100,000 plus with the online big e-tailers, their premiums are very, very high and their waiting times are long because they've got a global audience, you see. So but in certain markets, you might be able to do very well and find a little bullion shop where they've got some excesses and they're still business as usual. So it's worth calling around. If you have friends and family in another country, in another city, get on the phone, show them this video, send them this video. Say, hey, can I wire you money? Can you buy me some gold bullion in your country? I can't get my hands on it right now. It's an excellent strategy. Get your hands on physical precious metals if you can. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about, I haven't talked much about why I think it's going to get so bad. So once again, very high level, this is a big financial bubble that has been building for 10 years. It was bound to pop. The coronavirus is the pin that pricked it, but it wasn't a pin, it was a sledgehammer. People are just being asked to stay home and not work. It's significant. It's a very big concern that the cure is going to be worse than the disease. Maybe better off, had coronavirus have come through and let's say we're completely oblivious to it, we all went to work and it washed through, I believe is a phrase Trump used, washed through through everyone, we might have lost some significant deaths from our mostly elderly population that maybe it shaved 5-10 years off their life. I don't want to put a number to what that means, but if you talk about a financial Armageddon, we're talking, a lot of people die from that too. I think the stat is every 1% unemployment goes up, 40,000 people die, be it from depression, suicide, marriages breaking up, all kinds of things that's just the life, the death toll. The financial toll is just monstrous. So we are very much in a situation where I think the cure could be worse than the disease. Now the bubble had to pop anyway, so that was going to happen whether corona came or not. But asking everyone to stay at home for months on time and stop producing is, I think, complete insanity. And we'll see how bad this gets. I want to jump sideways for a second. I want to talk about contagion. Jump back to 2008. Iceland's stock market collapses. 3 months later, some bank in Spain realizes it had a lot of exposure to that. It has to go and solve it. Actually, I don't think it was a bank in Spain, but I'm making something up. The timeline's what's important. So let's say some bank in Spain realizes it was overexposed to the Icelandic stock market. They have to declare insolvency. 3 months after that, someone realized that they had exposure to the Spanish bank, they had exposure to that bank, and then all of a sudden the risk models don't work. They have to do this. All of a sudden, 3 months later, you've got AIG, you've got Lehman Brothers, you've got all these things. It took 6, 12 months to wash through the system. I remember Ben Bernanke sitting there saying, there is not a bubble in real estate. By the time they got the data back and went back and figured everything out, the bubble had already popped 3 months before he made that statement, right? So these things take months to wash through the system, and the international contagion, we haven't seen anything from the international contagion that is going to happen from the stock markets all around the world collapsing. What banks, what insurance agencies, what brokerage houses, how many businesses are going to go bankrupt, how many people are going to default on their loans, what is going to happen? It is just, there's a lot more to happen here, right? And I'm not a stock market expert by a long stretch. For whatever reason, what I've sort of put my hat on, we went from 29,000 the Dow, we went down to 18,000, we're up at 20. In my head, we're going to get back. It's very common to have like a big bounce up. I think in my head, we're going to get back to between 22 and 24. 24 is kind of what I'm looking for. I think we'll get back to 24, and then the rest of this leg is going to go down and go down hard, and we're going to see prices much, much lower than 15,000 Dow. Again, it's so hard to say with how much money they print, but in terms of other currencies, we're going to see the Dow get smashed much more. Okay, so let's jive back to what solutions are the governments of the world imposing? And sadly, they're just doing everything wrong, in my opinion, just everything. Again, the sin has been made years ago. The errors were made. The bubble was formed. The bubble had to pop. The free market is trying to cut away the dead weight, deleverage everything, only the strong survive, so that the strong can start building. Resources are taken from the poor actors, given to the good actors. The good actors are in possession of resources. They can deploy the resources. They start growing a real economy once again. That's what's trying to happen. And the growth of the economy, forget dollars, forget GDP, forget all this stuff, production. When you produce, you create wealth. You do not produce, you do not create wealth. So right now we've got this financial crisis and everyone's being told to stay home and don't produce. The costs are insane. The moral hazards with all of these little bailout programs and everything. I heard the other day, don't kick anybody out of your house if they can't pay rent or don't pay and suspend mortgage payments. So now you've got this instance where, well, okay, there's a lot of people who are going to get hurt and weren't able to pay their mortgages. The ones who could pay their mortgages, do you think they're going to pay their mortgages anymore? No, so you've got the moral hazard now to default on your loans, there'll be no consequences. Well, when everyone starts defaulting on their loans, what does that do to the banks and the capitalization of all the other different industries that rely on those loans to cash flow and everything else? Eventually, they've got to go and be bailed out again. And the zombie corporations and zombie banks start existing with all this bailout money. Another one, don't fire your staff under any circumstances. Keep employing them. And if you do, so that's insane. If the company needs to shrink, they need to be able to get rid of those extra employees, get lean and mean so that they're an efficient, productive company, actually outputting more resources than they're putting in, and then we can grow ourselves out. On the other one, anyone who got unemployed, we're just going to give you 4 months full-time salary. So all of the people who for all the people who got unemployed, I get it. It's a very sad situation. My heart goes out to all these people, believe me. I don't want to speak callously of it. But speaking from a macroeconomics position, you've now incentivized an entire nation to take a 4-month holiday. You still get paid your full salary to not work. Plus, you still get to, what's the cost of going to and from work, be it the gas in your car or your public transportation costs, your dry cleaning of your suit. You're actually richer to stay at home and not work, spend time with your family, spend time with your kids and play baseball in the yard, and you're incentivized to stop working. This is madness, absolute madness. You can't incentivize a nation not to produce. So the next moral hazard, they're telling everyone, they're going to buy up all corporate bonds. Any company that can't pay their bonds back, any company that's not able to pay their bonds back, you're holding that debt, you're looking at it, you took the risk, you were getting the reward when they were paying the interest. It turned out it was a bad decision that they can't pay the debt. You should have suffered the consequences because you were getting the profits. Now you show up, the government's told you it's the infinite buyer. It'll print as much money as it needs to buy up your bad investment. What are you going to do? You're going to go and sell it to them. Sell it, there you go, I don't want it anymore, it's off my hands. And now that debt is the burden of every single American taxpayer and the burden of all of the successful businesses that planned for this, was prepared for it, saved for a rainy day, and was in a position to move forward and keep the economy going. Now that burden sits on those businesses as well. All the moves the government are making right now to save everything is just horrific. It is the reverse incentive of every single thing that needs to happen. What needs to happen is we need to take our medicine, realize we had a bubble, think, oh no, we all stopped saving for a rainy day. The government trained us to stop saving for a rainy day. They were paying us 0% interest on the money in our bank. Why would we keep money in the bank? They've trained us to not have money to have money saved for a rainy day. We don't have any. I read recently, 50% of families in the US cannot handle an emergency of $400. They don't have the cash reserves to do that, right? Yeah, the pain is going to be tremendous. So you bail out all these people, you avoid this pain again. You avoided it in 2008, you avoid it in 2000, bailout after bailout, decade after decade. You have trained the world that the government will bail you out, all problems are solved. What's needed is you have to tighten your belt, you have to work hard, you have to produce, and we have to recreate the savings of the nation. When World War II hit, there was the people bailed out the government. The government sold war bonds. It was your patriotic duty to buy them, and people bought them. People stopped working. They went off to work. Women stepped up. We had a reserve workforce. They weren't really working. They went into the factories and started working when the men went off to work. We had the pool of savings. We had a pool of labor ready to start working that wasn't before, and the people bailed out the government. Now the mentality is that the government is going to bail out the people. The government doesn't have any money. There's no money in the government. Any penny they have, they stole from you, or will in the future. This is a death cycle that cannot be resolved. And people believed in 2008 that these bailouts and these zero interest rates and negative interest rates were a one-time emergency thing, that we're going to do it for a short time, we're going to solve it for the economy, and then we're going to go back to normal. We'll reduce the debt eventually, we'll bring interest rates up to normal, and we will get back to business as normal. They couldn't even get interest rates up above like 3%. Europe's been negative pretty much the whole time. We have the situation where it's a whole zombie economy because of all the bailouts. You have to let the dead wood die. It hurts, but it hurts a lot less than destroying the country and national debt, just destroying all prospects for decades and decades and decades. With that being said, there's no leader on the planet who's got the strength that I know of to come out and say what needs to be said. And they're all just saying, we're going to solve the problem and give you money, give you money, give you money. You have an ignorant population, an entire young generation trained that the government is the solution in everything. We should have a socialist. 50% of young people in America today think socialism is a good idea. Like, they're trained to think that the government is their solution. I'm not even saying I would have the Constitution to stand up, if I were president of the United States, to stand up and say, yeah, you're not getting anything. This is tough. We've got to suck it up and get through this misery together, knowing how bad this misery is going to get. I understand why they're lying. I'm not saying I could do any better if I was in their position, but I do know that what they're doing is extremely hurtful. It's going to hurt us so much. And so we have this problem, right? We've got Bitcoin, we've got dollars, and we've got gold. Hopefully we're completely out of the stock market and we're completely out of real estate. We have these three asset classes with cash. There will be an exodus from cash here soon. Be mindful of that. But for right now, we've got these three asset classes. How do we hold them? You can hold them in banks, but bank accounts could get chopped in half with a bail-in. We've got gold, but could that be seized? Absolutely. How do you hold that? Where do you hold that? Is there a way to hold it where there's no financial transactions, no financial record that you are holding it? Can you do it in such a way that you don't have to fill out any forms like the FBAR forms and other kind of forms that IRS and other governments around the world want you to disclose where you have that? All of these kinds of questions. This is just monumental amount of information, right? And this is what the entire Success Council is about. Inside the Success Council members area, there's just hours upon hours of videos in each of these asset classes teaching you how to hold them in a way that won't get stolen in the next few years. So here's my recommendation for all you guys. The video that I showed a little clip of earlier, the one from 2019, it's 90 minutes long. It's just jam-packed with awesome stuff to teaching you all of this stuff. There's a link in the description. I highly recommend go and watch that video. It will change your life and you'll see more clearly what's actually happening now, and it will help you understand where you want to be, what asset classes you want to be in, and how to actually do that. So that's my advice to you. Also, don't forget, below this video, in the comment section, ask your questions. In the next few days, I'm going to do a video. I'm going to try and answer as many questions as I possibly can. So ask your questions here. If you've enjoyed this video, please thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell, make sure you get all the notifications. Please support the channel. I don't want your money in any way, shape, or form. Now's not the time for that. I want you to hunker down. I want you to save your money. I want you to preserve your wealth. You can do me a huge favor. You can do, if you believe in the message, you can do humanity a huge favor here. Get this message out there. Share this video with as many people as you can. That is greatly appreciated in how you can support this channel. And I wish you guys all very, very well. And I'll see you in the next video where I answer all your questions. Good luck. Take care.